I want to talk a little bit about the trailer that I made. I use it behind my Sears Suburban and also the ATV that I use here on the property. When I first bought the property, started to burn firewood in the fireplace, I had a wheelbarrow that I used. I'd saw rounds back in the woods, lug them on a wheelbarrow 1,000 feet up here, split them, do whatever. Started getting a little bit older, didn't work out so well anymore. I had a Suburban, not this one, a bit older than this. And I figured I'll make a trailer for it. I looked at the neighbor's trailer. It has a metal trailer. Got some ideas from that. And then just started purchasing some material and putting it together. The lumber I used on this trailer is cull lumber from Home Depot. Got twists and bends, and maybe some of the knots are a little too big. They spray it purple or green or pink or whatever it happens to be. I bought 70% off. It's 2x6s, 2x4s. Underneath on the support system for the axle, there's 4x6s and 4x4s. So that's cheap. I got it cheap. The tongue is a piece of 1.5-inch water pipe I got out of the house. 1 7/8 coupler. Of course, all my tractors, this Suburban, the other Suburbans I have, and my ATV all have 1 7/8 balls that I use for the equipment. I can interchange just about everything I have with any tractor. You'll notice there's a little bend to this tongue. Put a little too much weight in there one time and dropped it in the front. Put a bend in it. Put a bend right in it. You look at the layout of the trailer, you'll notice the axle sits far back. You say, man, that axle's too far back. Well, I did that for a reason. I like to put weight on the tractor. When I have the wood in here, I stack a lot in the front. Puts weight, gives me downward pressure. I don't run AG tires on this in the woods. It just has the old Sears Suburban tread. Works well. It never has gotten stuck so far. If it does, I'll start looking into AG tires. They have weights on the back, small weights. It works well in the woods, in the snow, in the mud. It doesn't stop. It just keeps pulling. I went with the wood instead of metal for one reason. I'll be out in the woods and I'll just start throwing firewood in this thing. First, I didn't want the noise, the banging noise, and second, this is going to dent and bend the metal up. This, if something happens to it, a piece breaks, get another 2x6 or 2x4, screw it on, you're good to go again. I think it's more durable. Yeah, it weighs a little bit more. I'm not too worried about the weight though, because like I said, it's holding a lot of weight to begin with. Let's take a look underneath and I'll show you how I did the axle and the support. Again, just black water pipe for the tongue, 1 7/8 coupler, bolted on. Comes back to a 4x4 attached to the framework. This has been a problem a couple times. I've made a couple sharp turns and got jammed up and it broke the tongue loose in the trailer. I put corner brackets in there to reinforce it. There's lag bolts that go straight up into the bed of the trailer, conduit straps, and it hadn't broke since. It's doing well. The frame of the trailer itself, 2x4s, side to side, front to back. There's a subframe of 4x6 wood here, pressure treated. Carriage bolted on to the top, straight through carriage bolt. The axle mounting system, that's gone through a few changes in the time since I've made the trailer. In the beginning, I had cheap Harbor Freight wheels. Of course, me being cheap, I bought them. They lasted one time. As soon as you made a turn with weight on it, it broke the weld right off the flange. I'll show you some pictures that I have of that. So once I upgraded the wheels from the Harbor Freight wheels to these Craftsman wheels, 15-inch diameter, 6-inch hub, 3/4-inch axle. The system I had of the old wheelbarrow hardware holding them onto the trailer just wasn't sufficient anymore. First time I put some weight on them, boom, collapsed. Got some more pictures. So the answer was for me to take all that off, get rid of it, put 4x4s here to create space so the wheels could turn. They weren't rubbing against the frame. At first I just used conduit straps and put the axle on the 4x4. That was okay until I went back in the woods and got something hung up in the middle with a lot of weight on the trailer, pulled the axle right off the back. Pulled the trailer in, had to go back at the axle. Pretty embarrassing. So I put 3 conduit straps. That helped a little bit, but it's still, I could feel move sometimes. And the latest answer is to put a couple pieces of angle iron against the 4x4s, carriage, bolt them in, and you bolt the axle up through the angle iron, and that's held up so far. This I hadn't broken since. One thing I like about this is you can stand it up on the end like this. I usually lean it against the firewood rack, and it keeps the water from accumulating on the top, just runs off. I grease the wheels all the time. I'm surprised that they have lasted as long as they have. So, let me talk about a couple accessories that I made for the trailer. Make it easier for me to perform my tasks around the yard. First thing is a water tank. In the winter, I feed the birds and the deer in the woods. So I took an old expansion tank from a heater, hot water heater system, built a framework for it, and I mounted it in between 2 cleats on the trailer. It doesn't slide back and forth, and once it has water in it, it weighs it down, so it doesn't really rock around that much either. To fill it, I'll run a 100-foot hose from the house, connect in. The hose also has a vacuum brake at the end, so I don't get any flow back from the tank. It takes a couple minutes, maybe 3-4 minutes to build 40-45 psi, and we're good to go. Shut the valve off, pressure holds, take it back in the woods, and I have 2-3 minutes worth of spraying full blast with a hose and nozzle. I'll clean the buckets out and do whatever I have to do, and I have plenty of pressure. It's worked out well. I think it holds around 7 gallons or so by the time I'm done pressurizing the tank. Just pipe strap holding it on. Nothing fancy. Easy to make. Trace the pattern of the tank on the wood and just cut it out with a jigsaw. Like I said, there's on-off flow nozzles on both ends. I'll drain it. I'll put it down on an angle and drain it out through the front. That's why the front of my trailer's all rusty now. A lot of rust in here. I wouldn't drink this stuff. Non-potable water, of course. But yeah, that's the tank. Something else I made for this is a sawbuck that goes right on the back. I screw it in with deck screws. It's sturdy. Firewood. When I first bought this house, we had a fireplace. It didn't matter what size you put in there. It would go up to 21 inches. In the meantime, we put an insert. 16 inches, maybe 18 if you put it diagonally. So I had all this firewood that was a little bit too long. So with the sawbuck, I could just throw it on there. The sawbuck is set for a 16-inch length. I just hit it with the chainsaw. Cuts the end off. I get a bunch of these little pieces of firewood that make great starter stuff. So yeah, that's the trailer. Get a lot of enjoyment from it. It saves a lot of work. And it's the best thing I've ever made for the back of one of these tractors or an ATV. Someday I may have to rebuild it, do it over again, and I won't really change all that much. I like how it is now. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.